The power of saying no. That's what I want to talk about today. When I was growing up, I thought my dad's favorite word was no. He was definitely one of the authoritarian types, and it was always the default for anything he seemed to say when you asked him to do something. But years later, in having some deep conversations with my dad and asking him why he did the things he did as a parent and trying to understand where he was coming from, he said something so insightful that I've hung on to it for years and shared it with many people. And it was this. He said, most people cannot handle the word no or being told no, and they can't tell themselves no. He said, I wanted you to learn how to deal with the word no, and I wanted you to learn how to say no to yourself. And I've shared this story with hundreds of people, and I would have so many people, time and time again, somebody would come up to me afterward and sharing this little piece of my life, and they would say to me, man, I wish somebody had taught or told me no. I wish somebody had told me no because I don't know how to tell myself no. And the power of saying no is evident in this. No is probably one of the most powerful words you can say in order to protect yourself, to protect ones you love. And it's highly charged also because when we tend to say it, there's a lot of emotion around it. If people ask us to do things, there is this feeling we can often fight, which is that we don't want to look incapable or unwilling to do something. And so for those that are people pleasers or just wanting to have peace, the peacemakers in life, they can be the ones that wrestle with this more often than others. But it's so easy to just say what other people want to hear in the moment and then be trapped by your words. So learning to say no is vital. It's not only vital to learn to say no to other people, but it's also really vital to learn to say no to yourself because that's a big part of building self-discipline. There's a couple of ways that I think of no and the power, and one is of a dam. I love the imagery of a dam and water held back, this restraint, this limitation that is placed on the water that holds it back, this great reservoir of incredible potential power. But then there is the way that a dam is created, there is a restriction that allows the water to flow in such a way that power is created, and so much power that it powers cities. And I really encourage you to learn to say no. Begin to use the power of no in your life. Begin to find ways to tell yourself no, because the more that you do that, the more you're able to build self-restraint and self-discipline and power your life. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to. Just because you have the availability in your calendar doesn't mean you have to do it when people ask. If you want to begin to be intentional with your time and your energy and your effort and your skills, you have to learn how to say no to other people and even yourself. The fact is, restraint brings power. And there's the other image that I often think of when it comes to the word no, and the power of the word no is an iceberg. When we look at an iceberg, we only see part of it. We only see 10 or 15% above the surface. But the rest of it, the beautiful iceberg that none of us can see, is deep under the water, under the surface of the water. The rest of it, 80 or 90%, the weight of it, the bulk of it, the mass. And when we say no to people, that is just the tip of the iceberg. What you're saying no to filling up your schedule, eating certain food, going certain places, watching whatever it is that's trashy or eating junk food, pick the vice. When you begin to learn to say no to those things, or when you're wrestling with it, you need to begin to think about what it is you're really saying yes to. It's easy to focus on that no, but there is a greater yes. Everything that's under the water is the deeper yes that you're saying, or the deeper things that you're saying yes to. I'm going to use an easy one. Filling up your calendar with something else, volunteering for some other great organization that you support, you've done things for in the past, for a weekend or one day a week for the rest of the year. When we're saying no to that, it's not that you can't do it. It's not that you're not willing to, because again, just because you can doesn't mean you have to. Learning to say no to other people, learning even to say no to yourself. So you have to learn how to say no to the good things in your life in order to get to the best. And so the best is those deep things. The best is what is under that iceberg. If you're saying no to that, what are you saying yes to? You're saying yes to better relationships, committing to your health, making time and investing energy and effort into maybe getting outside and moving your body and enjoying your body. Maybe you're focusing on your business. You're going to use that time instead to invest in your business. I'm not saying avoid all your commitments socially, because focusing on yourself can go to an extreme. I'm not talking about the hedonism. I'm not talking about the gluttony and the focus on yourself that can come that way. There's a great commandment that says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. But most of us have struggled for years in the area of self-love. Maybe it hasn't been modeled for us. Really great. But learning to love ourselves means loving ourselves enough to say no to certain things and no to other people. And you will never love anyone else more than you love yourself. I have come to believe that. You need to take care of yourself. It's often like that analogy of the mask dropping down in the airplane, right? You have to take care of yourself to a certain measure before you can take care of anyone else. And so I encourage you to find new ways to love yourself today, this week. And in doing so, I think you're going to become a much more incredible member of your community and your family, because you're going to have so much more to give. You're going to be more alive. You're going to be more excited. And you're going to be filled with a new enthusiasm for being and not just doing what everyone else wants you to do, but you're going to become intentional in ways that you haven't been before to live the life of your dreams, to write your story the way that you've always hoped to write it. There's a great power in saying no.